we have Dr. Scheuer, who's in the middle of the fake news extravaganza because they're doing a docudrama on 9/11. They have a caricature, somebody playing him, we think it is. Of course, they wanted him to contribute to the docudrama once he got wind of what was it about and how they're going to change and lie. He didn't want any part of it. And now they're depicting him in a way that he's saying is completely false, untrue, and a big lie. So joining us now, back by popular demand, you got to read his blog. Go to non-intervention.com, non-intervention.com. I don't mean to laugh, but you got to go there and read his expose on these weasels at HuLu or whatever it is. It's just making stuff up. Joining us now, former analyst and executive, I guess you could say, altogether head honcho, high up there in the rankings of the Central Intelligence Operation since retired. And he's got a bunch of PhDs, and he's an author. He's written all kinds of books. You can buy them all on Amazon, Dr. Scheuer, or go to his blog, non-intervention.com. Joining us now, without further ado, Dr. Michael Scheuer. Dr. Scheuer, great to have you.
Good morning, John. You know, my dad told me a long time ago, he was in the 5th Marines, and he said when they got on the beach at Iwo Jima, there were generals there waiting to give them introductions to transsexual things, but fortunately the Japs killed them all. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't even know if he said it, but I think that's my idea of madness. What you just said. I find that absolutely unbelievable.
Look, I don't care who joins the Army if they can fight and they make the training and, you know, don't ask, don't tell, tell and ask. I don't really care. But I mean, when you're interrupting combat missions to do tranny training, I mean, there's something is just crazy going on.
Yeah. They're not, those men aren't there to be sensitive. They're there to kill. And to be sensitive is a good thing when they're not killing with their families, with their neighbors. But when they're in battle, they're there to kill as many of the enemy and its supporters as they can.
I really don't get it.
If Trump knows about this, I don't know how he hasn't stopped it yet, or Mattis.
Well, he does know about it, and they were trying to stop it. But the problem is, you know, look, they're all part of it. I mean, all these generals are all part of it.
I think I was entirely wrong, John. I think Mattis should go. I agree with you. I would get within 2 feet of a general. Although that guy at Homeland Security seems to be pretty squared away.
Kelly. Yeah, Kelly. Yeah. He said, you know, the thing is, the general, it's like they're part of it. I mean, and again, no disrespect to General Mattis. He's got a fine service record.
Absolutely.
No disrespect meant, but they're part of it. It's like getting people into bureaucracy to change a bureaucracy. They're part of it. It's just never going to happen. It's never going to happen. But anyway, Mattis, he did a 6-month stay, and that's it. I mean, they kept the policy. Now it's being enacted again, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about you. Enough about me. Let's talk about you.
John, you know, it's just I wrote the piece because I just find it unbelievable how the media works. The author of the movie we're talking about is the author of a book called The Looming Tower. I think that might be what the mini series is about, or what the series is about. His name is Lawrence Wright. And when he was writing that book, I had just resigned from the agency. And I talked to him about, I don't know, probably 12 or 15 different times trying to help him. And it turned out that nothing was in the book except things that he misled people about. And he said, you know, Scheuer is a crew-cut Prussian Catholic, which I think, I thought it had a nice ring, but I think it meant that he was saying I was a Nazi. And so when he came up with this new series in December, the note I got from him was in December of 2015. He asked me if I would help him prepare and give some idea of how it was to work where I was the chief. And I didn't answer it, but I wrote a piece in the blog that said, listen, I've been down this road many times, and this man doesn't know truth. He's an ideologue. He's a Clintonista. He tries to protect Clinton, and he is always anti-agency. So I didn't answer the first note. I wrote the piece. I got a second note, and I just sent a note back to him that said, no, thank you. So in the last couple of weeks, I've seen in the media that this thing is filming, and they've taken my character, changed the name, and have assigned him the role of being someone who hid information from the FBI, and that the information was so important that 9/11 could have been stopped. And it says, and if he hadn't done this, it might lead to it probably led to the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq.
Right.
Right? So
right.
There's nothing I can say from my own personal perspective to prove that that's wrong. Naturally, anybody would argue against it. But, what struck me is, didn't they check the facts? Because this thing has, initially it was going to be a drama. Then it was a docudrama, and now they've listed it as an expose. Well, I was angry, I think, to say the least, because for myself, because it's not true, for the officers that I led who gave the opportunities to Clinton to kill bin Laden, for the people in the field who risked their lives to get that information, and maybe most of all, and it's pretty selfish, but for what my children and grandchildren will think of me. So the story says that I'm going to be at the center of this, I am going to withhold information, and so we have 9/11 and we have the war in Iraq. So I thought, well, what can I do? Well, it happens that just after I left that position as the chief of bin Laden operations in May of 1999, the person in charge of operations for the Department of Justice and at the FBI, bin Laden operations, a lady named Mary Jo White, who was the district attorney in the Southern District of New York, or the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. She wrote a letter to say goodbye, thanks, and we have never run into a situation where the CIA has shared more information, has been more open about its operations, and have accommodated the needs of the law enforcement community so completely. So what I did is that the piece I wrote last week, I guess now, I just appended that, and I said, I naturally want to defend myself, but I can't, but I won't. I'll let this FBI DOJ thank you letter defend me, and to prove that the core of this miniseries because it covers from 95 until 9/11, and I was in charge for about 75% of that time. So the 75% of their story is based on a lie, and a provable lie, and a lie they could have checked if they checked facts.
Well, so maybe they didn't want
that's where it stands, John. I don't know if I can sue them if they go ahead with it or not. I probably can't. I probably don't have enough money.
Well, as long as they're saying it's a docudrama. So...
Well, yeah, they have called it a docudrama. Now they're calling it an expose.
Well, then there might be ground. I mean, you'd have to talk to a lawyer, but I know there's a precedent for this. There was and Not Your Way. There was a baseball movie about Billy Beane, who's the general manager of the Oakland A's, and it was called Moneyball. He had written a book on it. It was called Moneyball.
I remember the book.
Right, and it was a good book, and they made a movie out of it. I think Brad Pitt played, but they played Billy Beane, so it was pretty accurate. But the way they depicted the manager of the A's, Art Howe, in the movie was false. I mean, I know Art Howe, number one. Number two, it was absolutely false, and he attempted to sue Billy Beane, the studio, and everything else. But because they didn't bill it as a documentary, and it was just like a story, and they put the word docudrama in it, and it was probably all accurate except for the way he was depicted, he couldn't get anywhere with it. So,
yeah, I mean, you have the case, although I've heard from some of my readers that if they sell it in Europe, it's much easier to go after them there on this kind of thing.
Now, the story, though, is HuLu, who's doing this series, all right, which started out as a good idea. How did this happen? So they contacted you up front, Dr. Scheuer, as the person who was running the bin Laden operation, and they wanted to contract with you, pay you money, contract you to help them.
Well, I'm not sure. They very seldom pay money if you don't ask for it, and I'd never want to be in anybody's debt, so I wasn't going to ask them for any money, John.
But they did contact you in order to help them with the script.
The author did, Lawrence Wright, who is his book is behind this thing. Right. And I'll tell you what, if this is a docudrama, it says in one of the promotional things, this docudrama, or this series takes a controversial look at how the rivalry between the CIA and FBI inadvertently might have set the stage for the tragedy of 9/11 and the Iraq War. It's going to be hard to, if this is why would a drama or a docudrama have any ability to do that if it was all based on imagination. What it's based on is a desire to blacken, protect the FBI, because this is where his advisors come from, one of whom is an ex-convict, and also to protect Clinton.
Right.
You know, I don't know what to say about it, John, but I thought it was more important than money or my suing them or anything else, just to get to show from personal experience how dishonest these people are.
Right. Well, and the other thing I want to mention is the other sneaky thing they did is they didn't use your real name, right?
No, it appears like many of the other characters, certainly the primary characters, are all using true names. John O'Neill and George Tenet and, you know, on and on. But it doesn't fool anybody. Because I was the only one who was the chief of that unit from December of 95 until June of 99, there is no way to imagine somehow that this is not me.
Right, and the name they used for Michael Scheuer had the initials MS, right?
Right, Mark Schmidt. They called it.
Michael Schmidt or something. So they took MS. But what you're saying is, here's the bottom line of this, whether you sue them or not, separate issue. Dr. Scheuer, the bottom line of it is, you're saying that this so-called expose they're coming out with just totally false.
It's totally false. It's meant to protect Clinton, to protect the FBI, and to blacken the name of the agency. See, Wright has a very strong inclination to blacken the names of people who won't cooperate with him. And I've been told the agency refused to cooperate on this one. And rightly so, I think. They should have never cooperated on the other movie they made about it either. But and I've refused to cooperate. So, you know, he gets his revenge apparently because these Hollywood guys think they can do whatever they want. But, you know, I don't know if I'll have any success or not. I'm unlikely to. But here is the people he said I hoarded information from thanking me for sharing information.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. So the gist of this is they have a contrived narrative to depict the CIA and you and specifically Dr. Michael Scheuer as not being forthcoming with information for your own territorial reasons, and that they're drawing the conclusion that that led to our inability to stop 9/11. And you're saying...
And further that caused the Iraq War. God, John, I never thought I could be so powerful.
And what you're saying is those are both just blatant lies.
That's right.
That's
exactly
true.
Right.
And you've got a letter
it's made
from
a lie, not by me, but by the FBI and the CIA.
By Mary Jo White.
Or FBI and the Department of Justice.
Right. So you've got Mary Jo White sending a letter basically saying you've been more effusive in sharing information with the other agencies in any way they've ever had, and yet the film is depicting you as doing the exact opposite.
Exactly right, John.
So that's called
exactly
fake
right.
news.
And I'm not looking for sympathy here, but I think it's a point that it's not just newspapers and TV channels. Apparently, it's movies and it's plays and it's books. This is all fake. It's all fake.
Well, you know what? I mean, you got to get this out. I mean, you got to call the networks up, and when this thing happens,
I sent it to Wright, who wrote it, and I sent it to his producer and his director. And I've sent it to as many places as I can. I don't know how to get it to HuLu because they don't have a contact button on their website.
All right, so let's do two things. Number one, we're doing this interview right now. The last time we had you on our show a couple weeks ago, we put it up on our YouTube channel. We don't even push it out. We got something like 60,000 views, which is about 1,000 times what we normally get, for our normal stuff. So let's get this out because I want you to say on the record that this movie, give the title of the movie again.
I think it's going to be called The Looming Tower. Okay. It's based on a book that Lawrence Wright wrote. So The Looming Tower and this movie, which is being produced by HuLu. It was bought by HuLu. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it's going to be a 10-part series put out later in 2017, their promotional material says. Okay, and what you're saying is that the way the character that ostensibly is playing Michael Scheuer
The way they depicted it and the narrative that they put forth in the film is contrived, false, and at least 75% of it, which you were in charge of at that 75% of the time, you're saying they didn't check the facts and it's just complete fabrication.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, and I was there, it is complete fabrication. But again, John, who wouldn't argue that if they were there? I think the basis for my claim that it is a deceit, a deliberate deceit, is provided by the people I'm supposed to have hidden information from. Again, saying that our unit and the CIA as a whole was tremendously helpful. And we were, John. What you'll notice at the end of her letter, they sent me for myself, but also for my unit, an original copy of the indictment of Osama bin Laden in the Southern District of New York for terrorism or some kind of crime that they would have tried him on if they could have gotten him here. But I think what's important is that the CIA provided the bulk of that information in a way that the Department of Justice could use it. It was a first in the way the U.S. government works. And, at the end of the day, what I'm looking for personally, John, is for years from now, my grandchildren not saying, what a son of a gun that my grandfather was. All these people got killed because of him.
No, look, I think you got a stake here in this, and you got to get the word out that they completely made it up. Certainly the part that you were involved in, right?
Yeah,
we can't speak
that's all I can speak to is this is all from their promotional material that I've read.
Right,
this,
and what they're trying to do, they're trying, like fake news, they're trying to create a story line about what happened in 9/11 that is not true in order to just meet their ideological political narrative and that protect certain players like the Clintons. That's what this is about, protect them. So in order to do that, they take under the other people that were involved. They make up stuff. And the fact that, here's the thing that it's a lie, okay? They used everybody else's real name, like George Tenet, etc. Your name, they change it when you don't cooperate with them because you know what their outcome is here. You know what they wanted. So you're the name that they change in order to protect themselves from legal recourse.
I guess that's correct, John. I guess that's exactly what they're trying to do. But, there's more important things to protect here. My kids and my grandkids, all the people that worked for me, all the people who have died because of 9/11, not only in the attack, but since. I don't see any reason or any justification for trying to hang that on the CIA when Bill Clinton himself has said that the CIA gave him plenty of chances to kill bin Laden, but he didn't want to do it.
Dr. Scheuer, we're out of time. More information, go to non-intervention.com. We got to get you on again this week because we got to get you to tell us what's going on with this new report that the Chi-Coms have 25,000 spies in the U.S. I read this. I didn't believe it. I still don't believe it. But I'll give you a couple days. I wouldn't be surprised,
John.
I got to give you a couple of days to look into it. 25,000 spies. Dr. Scheuer, that's a lot of spies.
That is indeed.